Good morning. Well, the people are always afraid of war, and yet they're always preparing for war. We have seen US subsonic missiles, Tomahawk ones, which created havoc in Iraq, earlier in first Gulf War and the second Gulf War. And imagine that a subsonic missile. Compared to that, India and Russia are developing a hypersonic, not a supersonic, but a hypersonic one, which will travel 3 times the speed of subsonic Tomahawk one. And you would see the test of that missile this year. Shocked. And that's a fact. For the first time, India and Russia had joined hands to build hypersonic missiles, which fly at a speed of 5 to 7 times the speed of sound. 5 to 7 times the speed of sound. And as a matter of fact, some of the secret tests that have been held shows that the fully functional prototype has already crossed the speed of 6.5 Mach. As a matter of fact, last year, US had announced that they have built a missile which travels at 5 times the speed of sound. So India and Russia are surpassing that sound. But then, what's the result? This missile would be able to bomb anywhere in the world within 1 hour. So the 3 countries which were earlier in this race for having this hypersonic ability were USA, Russia, and China. India was a guy come lately, but has surpassed them, of course, in collaboration with Russia. And the new missile would have 3 variants. Normally, either the missiles are land-based or submarine-based or air-based, but they don't combine. But this new missile would be ground-launched, airborne, and sea-launched. However, you can be sure that these 2 countries have done a great thing, and that is they would not give the technology to any third country. This is in fact a very, very responsible action both by Russia and India, that they are developing their technologies, but they have agreed, it's a self-regulation. They will not give the technology to a third country so that there is no proliferation. BrahMos Airspace is already conducting the work. The missile test recently had a range of 290 kilometers, carrying a conventional warhead. It could engage the enemy as low as 10 meters with a top speed of 2.8 Mach. But this new hypersonic one will have a speed of 7 Mach. As I said, 3 times the speed of US-made subsonic Tomahawk missile. And we'll have flanker fighters equipped with this missile. Do we need it? Let's be very clear now. These hypersonic missiles are a new class of threat because they are both capable of maneuvering and flying faster at more than 5,000 kilometers per hour. In normal times, surpassing 7 Mach in exceptional times. So, the anti-missile defense which USA has been advocating for Europe, Obama had set it up over there, And the anti-missile defense that USA is setting up in North America, proposing to set it up, would have no protection at all. They would be able to bypass the missile defense system, and the result would be utter devastation. Another thing is that it absolutely turns topsy-turvy the so-called global balance of power. In one way, it's a balance of power because there are two nations, the communist nations, which are developing it. That is Russia and China. A non-aligned nation, India, and a Western nation, USA. So these are the four countries which are developing. Of course, a combination of a communist and a non-aligned country is taking the lead. Now they are developing separately, but the ground launch rockets would be typically boosted by the hypersonic speeds. This whole race was started by China, as a matter of fact. In 2012, China began using the world's biggest wind tunnels to test hypersonic vehicles. You can be sure Russia would not remain behind. So they revived their long-term fast ammunition program, and then US started testing their program. In July this year, US Air Force formally asked that the new hypersonic missiles be added. And quietly since 2012, India had been working very quietly without talking. While China was working and India was working, but those countries were talking, India kept quiet. And when Russia joined hands with India in 2014, when Putin met Modi, the program accelerated. So much so that they have said only yesterday that the new missile would be tested this very year. Now, the other regions and the countries, as stated by CIA, Europe, Japan, Australia, who want to have this technology and they have requested that they be associated. India has refused the request of Australia and Japan. So has Russia. China by itself is reclusive, they don't want it. And the only remaining country is USA. Now, it is incumbent on USA to ensure that the technology is not imported to them. To an outside observer, hypersonic weapons are nearly indistinguishable from nuclear-tipped rockets during the initial period of flight. A country on alert can always mistake a non-nuclear hypersonic weapon as an atom strike and start its own attack. So there is a danger. But then when is there not a danger? Russia has been alarmed by US hypersonic weaponry. And when China and Russia US started doing it, they organized its military specifically for Mach 5 missiles. The advanced capability of India enabled Russia to steal a march on the other two countries. Now, unavoidable requirement was that these three countries are now four countries, and France wants to represent Europe to become the way there is a 10-member nuclear club, they want to have a 5-member hypersonic missile club. India has refused to be part of that. So has China, so had Russia at present. Now comes a major issue, the non-proliferation. We already have nuclear weapons 14,300 nuclear bombs stay in different countries. About 10 countries have them. Would it be worthwhile spending millions and millions on the deterrent armament BrahMos 2? There's no time to waste. There's less than a decade, if the war doesn't take place earlier, to substantially hinder the potential proliferation of hypersonic missiles and associated technologies. Even if these countries decide not to give the technologies, we have seen internationally that some countries are capable of stealing these technologies. And there are people always who are willing to bid to the highest bidder. You can't deny it. If Pakistan could build its complete nuclear arsenal by stealing technology through the great efforts of Dr. Khan, what's a hindrance in, say, any other country, Iran, for example, to have that? To this end, it is imperative that there should be a SALT in this matter, Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, specifically for the hypersonic, because it's going to put nuclear weapons far behind. Agreed that the capability of the nuclear weapons, as far as the destruction is concerned, is beyond all comprehension. But imagine a hypersonic missile fitted with a nuclear warhead, and in 1 hour, even less than 1 hour, the whole countries and the continents are devastated. We do need an international community which controls a wide range of hypersonic missiles, because the technologies can never remain hidebound and secret for a long time. If the world escapes the present tension, hopefully, there's a need to ensure that this maddening race comes to a stop. While most of the people are happy that India has stolen a watch on the so-called largely successful and technological advanced countries, at the same time, India has another need, and that's the social upliftment. It's good to be strong, but it's also better to have a citizenry that has all the facilities of life, all the comforts of life, which are at present the privilege of a select few. So there has to be a combination of the social, national, and international parameters. At present, India has agreed to go ahead and not share. And one interesting factor comes out of this agreement between India and Russia. India has till now been buying mostly Russian aircraft during the times of Jawaharlal. And then they had aircraft from USA and Rafale jets. But the new hypersonic missiles for that 40 Su Mk1 flanker edge fighters supplied by Russia would be there. So this will be a truly collaborative effort. And the results of 4 years, just 2012 they started, but in a slow pace. And 2014, it was on a war footing. And the BrahMos aerospace joint venture with Russia has already built supersonic missiles on the Russian design SSN N-26. So supersonic India has built. Now hypersonic is the next step. I only wish this technology can be used for faster comfortable transportation. Rather than carrying nuclear warheads, let somehow or the other it be converted to use for the human transfers, human travel, bridging the distances rather than the destructive power. One thing definitely is there. The power balance in South Asia is definitely altered. Pakistan, which used to say that India dare not attack them, which India never had a desire to attack Pakistan. History shows that all the 4 times it was Pakistan which initiated the process. But still, Pakistan developed technology, however the way they developed it, only as a deterrent. But now once again, this hypersonic missile has left them fuming, fretting. Must be heart-burning. But then, the best thing would be to resolve the differences and sit across the table rather than waste their own millions on building a technology which shall be mutually destructive. All such technologies have positive factors and negative factors. Let's hope they are used for the positive ones. But definitely, this technology is, shall I say, sound barrier shattering? No, they have shattered the sound barrier. Let's say lightning speed technologies, and what was used to be talked about in the myths and the legends is coming to life. Thank you.